Hi. I would like to start with a question. How long have you been using your screen? And what are you actually watching? For the ones that are using them over 3 hours per day, I would assume that you will be more or less familiar with movies such as The Matrix or Inception, where it depicts this kind of evil organization that creates this illusion for their evil plan. But whenever I tell you, that person that's sleeping, that it actually exists, and some of you might guess it, it's the good old internet. I do not want to repeat the old sayings of parents talking to the kids about how, it's just addictive, you shouldn't be using it. No. I want you to take a closer look at the phenomenon itself by asking two questions. How are we using the internet, and what content are we actually watching? Or are we actually consuming? So, let's start with the first question. I would consider myself as a pretty early user of the internet, and the reason for me to use that was kind of dumb. It was to watch an anime called Evangelion, and finding it was really hard. You have to dodge malicious websites, avoid ads, visit links that are just failed or just low quality. It took hours for you to actually find that one episode as high quality. But compared to how we consume information, how we find information now, we go on YouTube or whatever platform, we click on the search bar, type whatever we want in, and everything just pops up. You don't even need to think about what you want to watch sometimes. Your algorithm automatically feeds you whatever you like, what you're interested in. So, the internet started as this explorationist mode of gaining information, where it's reaching out, finding them, into this passively receiving of information. In other words, it's spoon-feeding you. So now, let's move on to the second question. What are we actually consuming? If you have a sharp eye, then you might be noticing some videos that are predator to prey videos that's on platforms like YouTube. And sometimes it depicts a cheetah jumping onto a deer in the most awkward angle you might imagine, and turning into a crocodile and biting its feet off. Doesn't make sense whatsoever, obviously, and it's AI generated. But if you scroll down the comments, you'll find that, hey, users are replying as if it was a real documentary. And I'm confident to tell you that some of them are just bots. Whatever bots may say, bots are programmed or designed to perform a certain task online. And in fact, over 50% of all internet activities are all bots. And they are actually seeping into the content, the videos that we've been watching. And the most important thing is, we cannot tell the difference. A research done by the University of Zurich suggested on the Reddit forum, Change My View, suggested that large language bots are actually 6 times more persuasive than humans. Very surprising. And big illustration websites, such as Pinterest, are flooded with AI-generated images. That's almost impossible to tell. One out of 6 meme videos that you've been watching more or less has AI involved, whether it's voiced or if it's the image that's generated. So, AI and bots have been creating this big web of information that we cannot tell if it's real or not. We cannot distinguish if it's real or not. Symbols and the content we're consuming at this point has shifted from meaningful books in the past, where symbols orientates the reality. It wants to give us some insight and meaning for life, into this symbols that orientates into itself. Symbols looping back into more symbols. Recently, that's been the Labubu's that's been everywhere. A few years ago, it has been Bear Bricks. Online, it has been the NFTs. and the endless arrays of VTubers that are just some combination of pop culture. So, well, feel it, have we? We've gone online. That we're also affected by these content. Take with my examples, right? For example, I have a friend that posts historical content on a platform called Zhihu, which is the Chinese version of Quora. And that one time that he posted a pretty controversial one. And I helped him to manage the comments. And as expected, they did, right? There's a lot of arguments and insults. But what is interesting is when you actually read them, they start very personal, with their own anecdote and their ideas that they stumble upon in life. But as you go down the lines, you'll find that, hey, they're pretty much the same thing. Their logic, their opinion, even their punctuations are exactly the same. Clearly, this is no human. It's AI. Some people have decided that it's a good idea to just copy and paste AI-generated text and pretending that no one has done that before. And to visit, everyone does that. We are truly affected. Online discussions becoming more and more radical of just copy and pasted the same information hundreds of thousands of times. And the content becoming more and more homogeneous. So, back to the first question that I've asked. How long have you been using your screen? And what do you actually watch? It's quite hard to answer. The World Wide Web was created in 1989, and the first ever YouTube video was uploaded during 2006. Compare that to the history of humans, of 300,000 of Homo sapiens, and the 6,000 years of civilization. It's too hard for us to give a certain answer, a certain insight to this question. So perhaps we stand at this cliff of a new cyber era, gazing at this sea of endless information and symbols looping back on each other. And perhaps we should ask ourselves, is this all a digital found dream, or is it all a nightmare? Thank you for listening.